Good day. This is Dr. Bayo Riri on Reality Talk. Today we talk about witchcraft. Witchcraft is a term that has been misunderstood, at times feared, demonized, and at times canonized. And witchcraft came from the word the wise craft, the Wiccans, the wise ones. So witchcraft is actually the craft of the wise. And what do you mean by the wise? People who have deeper understanding of life, of nature. People who have more than ordinary understanding of issues. They had the invisible aspect. They actually live more in the invisible realm than the physical realm. Instead of the ordinary man trusting more in the physical, the witch knows that the invisible realm is the origin of the physical realm. So it goes to the origin to operate. And another thing is that all the religions we claim today, of all the religions, witchcraft was the first religion. The worship of Mother Earth, the fertility worship. And it emanated from the first set of witches who appreciate that they must have an origin. They must have a share in this origin, and they must actually pay homage to this origin. And so they started with things like what they could not explain. The earth gave them fruit, gave them food, gave them water, gave them everything, gave them support. And so, and the more they worshiped the earth, the more they had increased fertility. Before they started changing to the sun, the river, the animals, beetles, weevils, cattle, and this and that. So they are actually the progenitor of religion, of the religions. And they are actually the ones that gave the basis of worship, the basis of explanation of an inner being, which we are all worshiping today, which we are all reverting to again. Thousands of years after they have taught it, thousands of years after they have practiced it with great success. And so they knew their innate ability. They knew there was a spirit part of them that did everything for them. They knew that the flesh would not do anything. They knew that it was their inner divinity, the God essence in them, that did everything. So they actually resigned their activities to what they could feel, what they could think about, what they could imagine, and what they could say. So they would trust their imagination. They would trust their whatever they speak at their thought and speech. And they knew the unfailingness of all this. So they knew that there was a God part of the mind, which is the superconscious. They knew that there is a conscious part, which is the mental, the conscious awareness. And they knew that there was a subconscious, which is within man. But they knew again that everything was in a continuum, that what you are doing through your thought will get to the mind and connect with the superconscious. And what you were saying from your mouth will do the same. The conscious talk gets to the subconscious bed and it gets connected to the God level, which is still within you and around you. And you are still inside of it, and it's still inside of you. So they were able to understand so much early, and they did miraculous things, magical things, inexplicable things. And they could heal, and they could kill. They could make and not make. And they were actually used by the government and the church, the popes, the emperors, the rulers, and the church, and all religions. So they were the instruments of governance, but they had more power, and the rulers got jealous and envious. And so there ensued the witchcraft persecution, which turned into witch hunt, and that resulted into loss of millions of lives over 600 years in Europe, America, the civilized world will do this. And it still persists in a different form up to today, which is still feared and hated. Even though everybody knows they could be very useful. Witchcraft on its own is neither good nor bad. It's just a natural thing. It's just like the Spirit of God in you and I. And actually, everybody could be a witch, depending on how much he recognizes the inner part of himself and uses it either for good or for the evil. So, the witch is not actually the wicked person, the killer, the murderer you are thinking of. It's the person who can appreciate his inner divinity, inner essence, and use it very well. So, he contacts it all the time. He has reliance on it, he's trusting of it, and he believes in himself. And he knows that everything comes of God, everything comes of the universal mind, everything comes of the cosmos that acts with zero efforts, that has no barrier, that is of all possibility, that he can use at will, both in the day and in the night. And he knows that his soul entity can actually travel out thousands of miles away, hundreds of miles away, or feet away, and still come back once it's still connected with the body by the silver cord. So he can go outside of his body or our body and do things the physical body would do and comes back. So he can do good outside of his body and he can do harm. So, but there's actually a dictum among the witches. You do what you will, but you do no harm to self or body or anybody. So they're actually not supposed to do harm so that their power will not diminish. Because the law is applicable to, the law that is applicable to you is the law that is applicable to them. The more good and negative things you do, the less of power you have. The more positive things you do, the more positive power growth you have. So everyone runs away from evil acts. So that we want you to know that witchcraft on its own is nothing to fear. In fact, we now have association of witches established in London, in the UK, in the US, and they meet regularly. They don't fly in the night again broomstick or this or that. They could actually do that in those days. Even now, they could still do it. They can fly anytime, just like you can fly anytime. Astral projection, astral travel. You see, and you can actually affect and affect yourself and other things, other beings, other people. So it depends. It's just what you and I can do that they do, but they do more brazenly, more trustingly, more confidently, and they are actually using their inner essence, the divine essence in them, the God essence in them, just like Jesus Christ did, and they could do it. So we have to have a changed perspective about witches. We cannot finish everything about witches in the topic. Okay, we may revisit it later. Thank you. God bless. Share, subscribe, and love.